Hello everyone. So I am going to create a video tutorial for installing Tableau server on a Linux environment, and this is going to be really helpful because I'll try to install two node cluster, and we'll also see all the steps, all the requirements, what are the things that we need to take care before installing Tableau server, and what are the challenges that is generally faced when we try to install Tableau server in an enterprise environment. Without wasting time, let's start. So, we all know the Tableau gives us two options. One is either you install your own Tableau server within your own premises, that is on your own hardware setup, whatever you have selected. Either it could be on a private cloud or public cloud like AWS or GCP, or you can take Tableau Cloud that is provided by the Tableau itself. Now, the main question that will come is why will anyone take the hassle to install the server on their own machines and handle the entire infrastructure? The answer to that question is Tableau server is generally a bit faster when compared to Tableau Cloud. I have seen that happening. And let's take if the workbook is loading within 15 seconds in Tableau Cloud. In Tableau Server, it could be just 8 to 10 seconds, or maybe just, sometimes even less. So Tableau Server is generally more fast. And for data related issues as well, if you want to contain data within your own environment, you want to have a control over that. And that's where people can install Tableau Server on their own system. Tableau Server can also be managed effectively or efficiently, you can say, when we have own control over the infrastructure. We know our requirements, we can scale it up, scale it down. Again, depends on use cases to use cases. There are companies which uses Tableau Cloud. There are companies which are more they are more data enthusiast, you can say. They are more relying on the data, and then they have their own entire server setup. Now, this was about why Tableau server and not Tableau Cloud. Now, coming back to the Tableau server, uh, the prerequisite for Tableau server is you will have to buy the licenses. Like a creator license is what you will require. There are three license types: creator, explorer, and viewer. And for managing, handling Tableau server, having the privilege of a server administrator, you need a creator license. So one creator license is minimum. Now, when an enterprise is going to buy Tableau server, they can quote, whatever the deals happen with the sales team. According to that, yeah, you can buy the licenses. Like, let's take, you might need two to three creator licenses or maybe more. And then there could be requirement of explorer licenses and viewer licenses. Viewer is just for when you just need to give permission to view the dashboards, interact like with the filters, do basic stuff. Explorer can have a escalator privilege where Explorer can also publish. So for the cost effective, you can keep more explorers as well. And creators, you can limit it depending on how many actual creators that you are going to need. We'll look into these license types later on. Let's focus on the installation of Tableau server. So the key requirement is you need to have a license. Now let's first look into for before installing, let's look into the things that we need to make sure. So the first thing that we need to take care is the hardware requirement, which includes CPU, RAM, and the disk storage. The next is the internet connectivity. So we need our Tableau server, the instance where we are installing Tableau server. The entire facility should have access to the internet. At least for license activation, we must need the internet activity. So let's check. You are in an enterprise environment. You are within a restricted network where the internet access is not provided. You will have to raise firewall request to make the changes so that the communication from the license server, Tableau license server, is happening so that the license is properly activated. Now, there is a way to install Tableau server in an air gapped environment where there is no internet as well, but it's better to have it in this way. Now, for sending logs also, this internet connectivity is required, although it is not a mandatory or as a thing. The next thing is we have a map section that comes up when we are editing something on the Tableau desktop and publishing it to the server. So if we don't have internet connectivity, then maps is not going to load properly. So yes, there are offline map features provided by Tableau, but for better visualization, it's better to have internet connectivity. Now coming back to the third point, that is static IP and host name. So what happens? We are binding like this Tableau server is going to be used by the users, and we want the same. Generally, what will happen? We'll give them a domain name, like go to https colon Tableau server dot com or Tableau 123, whatever we name it .com, right? Now we want to make sure that this IP of the instance where we are installing it is constant, right? Or if even if it is changing, we are actually mapping it correctly with the domain name, so that whenever the person at the end user is typing the domain, uh, we are able to redirect it to the Tableau server. Now it's better to have a static IP to not to get into those hassles, and we'll look into how we can keep a load balancer to manage the load between the nodes, and also we can directly route our all the requests directly to load balancer instead of the nodes. It will also protect our nodes from direct access to the internet. You can treat it as a reverse proxy. Now, once these are met, the fourth is driver. So we need to install drivers. We'll have to download drivers, and that is required for connecting to different data sources. So on the Tableau server, you might have seen extract reference happen, or we are doing any work like direct connection with the Redshift or whatever data source. So we need to download and install those drivers. The fifth one is the license that we have already talked about. Let's try to see. I will show you one Tableau server download on Linux. Not download, let's do install. I'll show how to download as well. Okay, so this is the I will paste this particular URL in the description. So get started with Tableau server. This is the place you will get all the information for installing, for planning, for deploying, and then if you have to migrate or how to manage the server. So this is like you can say one uh, point where you will get all the information. Now let's look into the planning. The first part is uh, infrastructure planning. Okay, so let's look into this. So we can see if we are installing just on a single node and we require a processor like a 64-bit chipset, And okay, it has not written, but generally it is given as uh, it should be more than 2 gigahertz. Okay, it has written here. Yeah, so it should be 2 gigahertz or higher. And the cores, it require 8 cores, 16 virtual CPUs. And when it comes to RAM, it should be 128 GB if you're installing later version. And before that, it could be up to 64 GB. But I think Tableau has stopped giving updates for the prior versions. So we'll anyway be going to install versions after 2022.3. Recent version is 2025.3. We'll look into that. And the free disk space should be 50 GB. Now we can also install Tableau server on multiple nodes, and that is required because let's take we have a extract intensive environment. What it means is there are a lot of extracts that are running, and we want all of them to get refreshed, uh, quite frequently or at the same time. Then in that case, we can add another node, which main purpose is to uh, refresh the extracts. So for extract heavy environment, we can create two nodes, and the uh, if previously only five extract or four extract were getting refreshed at a time, now eight extract can be refreshed at the same time. There could be another like three node cluster system and multi-node cluster system depending on the requirements for high availability and those kind of things. In this tutorial, we will be focusing more on primary node, maybe one more node, that is secondary node. We'll try to look into that. So that was the hardware requirement, uh, the RAM, CPU, and the disk space. Disk space, I will look again once on this disk requirement. Now coming back to the operating system, these are the particular operating system which is supported. So make sure to have the VM created with these operating system. If you're on Amazon EC2 instance, you can see Amazon Linux 2023 is supported for all these server versions. So this needs to be kept in mind. Debian is not being supported by Tableau. So we need to make so out of this CentOS 9 or 8 or whatever the numbers are there for a particular Tableau, let's take we are going to install 2025.3.1. So we can pick either Amazon Linux 3 or then CentOS or Stream 9X. We can take care of these things. Now let's look into the disk requirement. So the disk requirements are, so we need Tableau actually store all the repository data, like all the extracts, and it also create backups of those. So we'll require, as it is mentioned here as well, 3x repository data plus 250 MB. So if the repository data, let's take one extract, if it is a big one, could be of about, let's take 10 to 15 GB or 10 to 12 GB. And there are, let's take four or five such extracts. So around 60 GB of, you have only extract data. Then there would be another kind of datas that are there. So it's better to keep uh, like a total of 3 into X repository data. Let's take if the 60 GB was repository, then around 180 GB, and then 2.5x the file store data. So we'll look into these when we are going to install Tableau server. Generally, it's better to keep more disk space. So that was our hardware requirement. And now let's go. Let's try to look into how we can download the Tableau server. And then these things we will look as and when we will start installing the Tableau server. So the current version is 2025.3.4, right? I can log in now because I have an account. You can create your own account. So what happens whenever Tableau is coming up with a new server version? There could be multiple reasons. One could be some bug fix. Second could be there was some errors or issues that were happening in the previous version. So to handle those, a new server in the new server, those are handled, or a new feature is being rolled out, and that is present in the new server version. So these are different reasons, and generally it is advised to, let's take if the latest version is 2025.3.4, we can install a one version prior to it or some versions prior to it which are more stable. When you're going to install the Tableau server, of course, when you buy the licenses, you will have call with the Tableau support team, and then they will guide you. You can ask the same question to them, and makes you are installing the more stable version for a particular operating system and whatever environment you are going to install it into. So once we log in, we'll get this download Tableau server option, and here you can see all the resolved issues that has been taken care in this particular server version. Within below that, you can see the download links for Linux and Windows. As we are going to download for the Linux, we can download Tableau server.rpm here and Tableau tab cmd. We'll look into tab cmd again. It's a good tool for managing Tableau server. So we can download it from here, and okay, we'll download it. But before that, let's try to create our own VM now. So the first step is to create, make sure our hardware is in place. So let's create our own VM instance with the required CPU, RAM, and disk storage. And then we will try to download the Tableau server. And the VMs will have internet connectivity. So this part we don't need to take care. But if you are going to install it in an enterprise environment in a company where there is the network doesn't allow internet connectivity, you will have to raise firewall request, or there are ways like we can set up forward proxy that will look. So for by forward proxy, the request from Tableau server will be routed to the proxy server, whatever you are setting, and that in that proxy you will have to ask the team, the network team or the firewall team, to allow that traffic. Now static and IP will see once we have the VM. Driver we'll have to download, and license keys right now we don't have. We'll try uh, doing it on a trial basis. So let's go to our VM instance. Okay, you can go. I'm using GCP. You can go to AWS EC2 instance as well. Nothing changes. And let's try to create one new instance. So I'll be creating an instance. So if you want from beginning, like just log in into the GCP, you can get free trial like around $300 they give for 90 days, and you'll need to pay them like 1,000 is what they ask. Just they will keep it. If not, you can again reimburse it, and you will be allowed. So you can once you are logged in, you can right click. You can click on this hamburger menu and then go to this compute engine, right? And then go to this. Either you can go to overview or VM instances, and then you will get the option of creating a VM. So once you click on the creating a VM, create a VM instance. This particular, let's show it. So let's go to overview. And here you will see create instance and all the information about whatever the total number of VMs that is there. And out of that, okay, so whatever. So once that is clicked, this particular window opens. So we can give our name. We can give it like Tableau server trial, and then we can keep it like, okay, let's relive the reason as it is in June. Now here we need to select the series, and this is important. It needs to meet the hardware requirement. So I'm selecting N2. Now here, of course, we need around 8 vCPU, right? But we also need 64 GB minimum. Uh, let's go here and so it was 128 GB of RAM is what we need. And although for I think this is more of a production. There is another link where you can see the minimum hardware requirement, right? So that could be a bit less. But right now, let's mimic what is required for the production. So I'll keep 128 GB only. So 32 V CPU, 128 GB memory. This is sufficient for our use. And once this is done, it will show our rate. Now go to OS and storage. This is important because, as mentioned, we can't wait for DPN. So we need to change. By default, it is showing as DPN. Let's select CentOS and let's select CentOS stream 9. And size is a default disk that is attached. Mm, must be 8 set is okay. Let's do this one. You can go back and see if the CentOS 9X was supported by 2025.3.1 plus. So because this is the version, latest version that we'll be trying to install. So for this one, CentOS 8X, CentOS Stream 9X, yes, this is supported. So let's go back. This is fine. So now just select it and let's add a new disk. So that we'll keep a separate disk where we will install Tableau server, right? We'll look when we are installing it. So if it don't give a particular location for it to we get the Tableau server to get installed, the default location would be like slash opt, and the all the data storage will be within slash var, and that I don't want. We want a separate disk where everything of Tableau is maintained. It will help us. First of all, it is easier to, let's take, we want to increase the size. So it's easier for us to, uh, let's take increase from 100 GB to 500 GB. And the second thing is if we are somehow upgrading our Tableau server later on and we destroy our VM, our block is not going to get destroyed. But again, whenever we are upgrading uh, Tableau server, we anyway, disable our license and remove, obliterate the entire Tableau server. But still, if we keep a separate disk, it helps us in many different ways. Now let's try to add a new disk. Let's get this name a Tableau and trial. And let's keep it 100 GB for now. Save. So the new disk has been added. Now under networking, let's give it a network tag. Why? We'll see it later. Let's give it like Tableau trial. So because we'll have to later on do some firewall changes so that the request is allowed on 8850 port. We'll see that. That's why we need to have a network tags for future. We can change it. We can edit it later on as well. There is no issue as such. So now these things are done. We have 32 CPU, more than enough. 128 GB memory, 100 GB of disk space extra that we have taken. 20 GB we're anyway getting it. And I think this is fine. Let's create it. So this is going to be created. So now you will get why I was telling. When the instance is stopped, you can see the external IP isn't visible, right? So what happens whenever we are stopping and restarting, or again stopping and then starting our this instances, every time the system or this GCP is going to assign us a new IP. The problem is if we don't, if we directly give this IP to the end user and it changes, then that's a big issue. So we'll see how we can mitigate that. One way is to keep it static. Second way is to, properly route it from load balancer. And then for the load balancer, we can keep proper like in the routing table. Uh, we'll see how we can add a domain and then route it later on. So let's click on SSH. It will open a terminal in the browser itself. Okay, so now we are uh, able to access our instance. So let's go to root directory. If you are unable of, you're not aware of all the basic Linux command, I have created a 1 hour basic Linux command video. You can go through that and you will get like you will be more comfortable in understanding these commands. Now, first thing, let's check if hardware requirements are similar to what we have ordered, right? So DFH is for checking the disk space. Now the problem is, see, I have 100 GB of storage that I have taken, but that is not visible here, right? List 20 GB that was coming along with VM is there, but that 100 GB of separate disk is not there. So we need to now use ls vlk command. So it will give us all the available storage for the disk. And here we can see we have a HTA 100 GB, but it is not properly mounted to the Linux system. So we can't access it actually. So to make it accessible, we will first have to convert its file system to ext4, which is used by Linux. And once that entire drive of 100 GB, the file system is changed to ext4, then we can mount it on the root directory or whatever, you can create a directory and mount it there so that we can access it. So let's try to first change it. Make file system ext4 and /dev is for all the devices and STA. So this is done. Now what we need to do is let us create a directory where we want to mount it. Let's create a Tableau server directory, within root. And now once this is done, we can just check it. We have a Tableau server directory created. Now we need to mount it, the entire 100 GB to this particular. So what we can do is we can just write sudo mount and dev htm to our Tableau server directory that we have created. Okay. Now what? Again, check. And it is giving, yes, this is available. This particular disk is available. And this is mounted at Tableau server. And the size is 98 GB. So now we can access the storage block. So that's the one thing that you need to take care. Even in future, let's take we have to increase from 100 GB to 500 GB. Then the rest 400 GB needs to be converted into the that ext4 file system. And or there is a command you can check it on resize to fs. So this need to be run to make the entire block available. So uh, we can easily uh, like increase the disk storage if required in future if the extract size are increasing and we need to escalate it or scale it, then we can do it easily. Now coming back to now this is done. Now coming back to installing of the Tableau server. So for installing, we need to download the Tableau server and place it here, right? And okay, let's start downloading it. The one way is to download the Tableau server, right? We have it open. So one way is to download the Tableau server by clicking on this link. And once that is done, then again upload the file to our VM. Now that's a time-taking process. What we can do instead of that is we can use the developer mode and we can use cookies to directly download the use this session and directly download this Tableau server using curl command to the VM itself. We'll see that. So Control Shift I, we can get the we can inspect this web page. Then go to this network and then click on Tableau server. So it will generate all of these, and one of them is this get downloads.tableau.com. So let's copy the value, copy equal POSIX, go to our notepad and paste it. Now we don't want these extra. What we need is the URL, cookie, and at last the file name that is listed tableau server.rpm. Let's copy this and let's just create our previous first so that there is no issue in creation of any new file. So it is 2764 MB and the download has started. Of course, the download will be quite fast because we are directly downloading it on the VM. So it is done. Now if we just check it, we have a tableau server.rpm file. The Tableau server has been installed. Now what? Once the Tableau server is installed, the installation process begins. But before installing Tableau server, we need to make sure that all the relevant dependencies are installed. So what we can do first of all sudo yum update. So it will update all the things that are already present in this instance. So this might take maybe a minute till it happens. Let's go to one more thing. So here you can see we can check the dependencies of the Tableau server using this command. So this is the build number 2022. Let's show this one to you. And this build number is actually used. Yeah, so this is the build number of the Tableau server. You'll see it even when we are installing the Tableau server, this build number will come appending to the folder names. So we can use this to check what are the dependencies and then we can install those. I've already written those commands to not waste time. Let's look till then. Uh, so we are doing this sudo update y. Then we can run this to check what are the dependencies. The dependencies that I've already checked is are going to be these ones, and we need to install again all of these uh, before installing Tableau server. If we don't do this, and if we directly go and try to run this one to install the Tableau server, it will anyway throw us the error. So what we can do is we can directly try to install it, and then we'll see what happens. So for installing Tableau server, what we're using is sudo, of course, root privilege, RPM, and then the main thing is the destination where we are installing. If we don't give this one, right, this entire thing, we can also write it like sudo RPM install, this particular Tableau server name, and by it would have been installed on a default location. But we want everything entire setup to be on our drive for going to be easy to manage things. So here we have given our Tableau server, that folder we have created. Okay, so this has been completed. So our Tableau server files resides here. Let's try to run the first command sudo rpmi. The name is from, let's look it now, and it will give failed dependencies. So we need to install all of these, and that's why this command is already written, not to waste the time. Okay. All of these we need to install one by one. You can see here bash completion, chr path, font config, views, and there is one more that we need to write. That is uh, this one. Need to again copy it. Now let's copy this one. Okay, this is the banking, I guess. Let's type it lib x11 xcv. So all the dependencies are going to be installed. Once this is done, let's again try to run our this Tableau server installation command. So first of all, it will check if the hardware requirements are met or not. Once that is met, then it will install the entire Tableau server within the folder that we have specified. So on checking, you can see it gives this system meets or exceeds the minimum recommended Tableau server requirement. Now once this is done, might take, let's take a minute and it should be done. Okay, so now this is giving some messages. Like the commands that we need to run after this. Okay, so this is done. And Tableau server has been manually installed on this slash Tableau server. Let's go to this directory. This browser version is a bit sluggish. You can use putty, use the SSS keys. That's better. So once we are in the Tableau server, we can see two new folder has been added, uh, which is like packages and manifests. Right. The main one is the package, or you can also now see which what is the storage for these particular folders. So we can see manifest is 224K, lost and found limit. The main is packages, which is 4.9 GB, right? So this is the main folder where all the scripts and everything related to Tableau server is placed. Okay. So all the things related to Tableau server is within this. Let's take, we have to start and stop a particular service. We'll have to come here and go to a particular that particular process in a folder for that particular process, and there we will get scripts to start and stop that particular process. We'll look into that. The another main folder that is required for us is going to be the scripts folder. So this one is the scripts folder. So let's do cd and this is script folder, and I told you the build number is going to come. So here you can see after the folder name the build numbers are coming. Now you can see there are multiple scripts that are within this, and let's look into few of them. Okay, one is Tableau server obliterate. So in case we have to delete our server, even during upgrade, if we have to upgrade to a new version, we might have to obliterate the previous one and then upgrade. Or there are different ways as well for upgrading. Once we go, we can look into those. Then there is a stop and a start administrative services. So if there are some issues with the, let's take some processes are not running, or the Tableau server itself is in a some problematic state, we can use this stop and start administrative services. That happens like when we have the nodes installed and we are trying to, let's take, restart the Tableau server after some processes, and it gets stuck in between and it is taking a lot of time, then we can use stop and start administrative services. Then we have initialized TSM. So this is one of the next step that we are going to do. TSM is Tableau Services Manager. So all the configuration that we are going to do for all the, what process is going to use how many CPUs, setting up system TP, SAML, how we are going to authenticate, whether the services are running properly or not for monitoring, for restarting. All these are done via this TSM. So we need to initialize this TSM. As the next step, we will look. So these are some of the known or the most used scripts. Let's now go to our next step, that is initializing TSM. So let's initialize it. This is the script initialize TSM, which we already saw. Accept EULA is accepting end user license agreement. D is for the destination where we want to initialize TSM. So wherever the TSM is going to be initialized, the file is stored, the repository, everything is going to be placed there itself. So you can say entire, like we have 100 GB of block. Of course, we want to keep all the data there itself. If by chance the storage space is less, your Tableau server is some of the processes are going to stuck and Tableau server might get down. So make sure to have enough disk space. A is for the user that we need to add. So when this will run, you will see two groups are created. One is TSM admin and Tableau. And we want our user to be in a part of those groups so that once this is created, we are able to log in or access the this TSM. And then what we can give extra is HTTP proxy, HTTPS proxy, and then there is also one thing as no proxy. So no proxy and HTTP proxy, why this is required? So in case you are in an enterprise environment where the internet is not accessible, so what we by doing this, what we are telling Tableau server is to route to this, whenever you need to connect with the internet, you can go to this proxy server, and if the proxy server allows, then the connection will be made. Now, why then no proxy? So no proxy is there that let's take that node one of Tableau server, that is this particular instance, wants to talk with another instance, the node two of the Tableau server. Now, in that case, we don't want to hit proxy every time, right? So to make it clear for the Tableau server not to send those requests to proxy, we use no proxy. And then we give it like localhost and whatever other network addresses. So those we will give within no proxy. So okay, let's keep so that is not required right now for us because we have the internet connection. We can just go ahead and initialize this one. But before initializing, there is one more thing that we need to take care, and that is the host name should be static. Otherwise, it will throw error. Okay. So if you just see, the host name is Tableau Server Trial, and the static host name is not set. So this is going to throw us error if I'm going to try initializing the TSM. That's one of the prerequisite you can say to have a static host name. What I can do is I can just do sudo set host name and the same name as the transient host name, that is Tableau Server Trial. Let's try with this is hanging. Okay. Now let's check it again. Let me check the exact command. Okay, so I have tried the command, which is sudo host name ctl set host name and then the host name. Post this, running this command, the static host name, which was coming as unset, is now coming as Tableau server trial, which I have kept same as the transient host name that was coming previously. So once this is done, now we can try to run this initialize TSM script with all these parameters. Uh, okay. So you can see I've also given one Tableau. So it will create the folder Tableau within Tableau server. And then all the other folders post initialization will be present within this. We will check it once the process is over. And IS Verma 99340 is the uh, username. Let's look into that first. Okay, so if I just type who am I'm root right now. Let's exit from the root. And if I again do, so the username is ISO 99340. So that is why I have kept this one user. Let's start. Okay. On exiting, I think, yeah, let's go back to that folder where we have the script. Okay. So now we are within this folder again. We could have given the complete, the address of the file in slash tsm and run it like that as well. But it's better to come to that directory and then directly run it with the name. Okay. So now let's try. So you can see here tsm admin and Tableau uh, is getting created, users and the group both, and directories and every permissions are getting set. This one is going to be used as the data directory, and here you can see the user is being added to the group Tableau and tsm admin. So the tsm services are getting started. So let's look into the message. So the tsm administrative web interface is now available at. So this will not be accessible. I'll tell you why, because this is the host name it is taking, but we'll have to enter our external IP address that is accessible from the internet. Okay, so TSM is now installed, and let's look into what happened with our Tableau server folder. So now we have created a folder Tableau, and you can see the owner and the group of this Tableau is Tableau itself. So let's okay, this is giving right now permission denied. Once we will exit the cell and relog in, we will be able to do access this because we are a part of Tableau, right? So let's close this one and let's try to again re-log in. And Okay, let's try to log in now. Now you can see we are able to log in. Sorry, we are able to navigate. And now you see all these data logs temp folder created. The main is data. Within this, we have tab SVC folder, and you can see both owner and group is now Tableau. So that has been created when we initialize the TSM. Now all these folders are also created, and data related to all of these, like whatever services are there, are going to be stored within each one of these folders. We will look into these folders in detail later on. So we have seen the when we install Tableau server, the scripts goes into all the scripts related to each services are present into that packages folder, and then all the data that is going to be stored depends on where we are initializing the TSM. Now the next thing is it is done. Now we want to access our TSM. What is TSM? We can also write TSM status V. So it will give us whether the TSM is running or not. So of course you can see it is stopped, but other services are running. Let's try to access it via UI first. Try to access it via UI. So our external IP is this one, right? Let's copy it and let's try to go to this IP colon 8850. Why 8850? Because TSM listens on 8850. That's the port. If you go to the instruction, you will see that it is given while installing that this particular port should be allowed, right? So this is all the, you know, you can go within deploy. It has a section install and configure Tableau server, install and initialize TSM. So this is where you will get all this information. So these are the commands that we ran. You can see it here. Then optional common initialized TSM parameter that we were using. By default, ATR is used. ATR is for how the licenses are activated. So a Tableau server will send the request uh, and then it will check the license keys and it will validate. So this was the by default directory where the data would have been stored, but we have kept our own directory, custom directory. And then let's see, we here you can see the HTTP and HTTPS proxy and the no proxy use. Okay, so this was about the install and initialize TSM. Now to activate Tableau, if we go, let's go to this activate Tableau. So the next process is uh, register the Tableau, right? Activate and register the Tableau. So here you can see TSM uses 8850 port and this needs to be open. So firewall, when we are when a user is requesting access on this port, it should be allowed. But right now we see this is not allowed, right? That's why we couldn't do it. Okay, so let's try to do that. So here within this, we'll have, uh, let's come here. And we have VPC network. Let's go to this VPC. Okay. Now we will have firewall. So this decides what are the traffic that are going to be allowed to our VM. Here we need to create a rule and make sure that the communication is allowed on the port, the inbound communication that should be allowed from the port on the port 8850. So what we can do is we can create a firewall rule. You can see here rules, right? So let's create a rule. So the name of the rule is TSM because we want TSM to be accessible. And this is an ingress, which is like the communication is coming from outside on the port 8850. And the target tag to, this tag is where during creation of VM, we have created a tag, Tableau trial. So this is where it is going to be used. Source IPv4 ranges. So I will give all the internet access 0.0.0.0 plus 0. And what are the ports on which it should be allowed? So I'm allowing it on 8850. And let's create it. Okay. So on the rule, you can see TSM is there and Tableau trial is the target. So target, our VM has this Tableau trial tag. If we go back to our compute engine or VM instances, and click on Tableau server trial, within network, we can see Tableau trial. This was the uh, tag that we have added during creation. If not added, we can edit and add this tag. Now, once this is added, let's try to re-access this. It might take some time in that firewall rule to be implemented, but let's wait. Okay, so it gives us, it's a warning sign. Let's go to advanced because the SSL might not be there, the site certificate is not trusting. Let's proceed. Okay, so now you can see the Tableau TSM page is here. How we can log in into this is, so we have added this user while creation or while initializing the TSM within the Tableau and TSM admin, right? This is its use. And we need to have a password. So let's set our password for this user. What we can do is sudo password and the username, that is, let's give one new password. Uh, Try to keep it bit complex, not a lot complex, but at least some complex. Otherwise, it will not take, right? Like something like at the rate and all should be there. So once that is done, we can use this password. So once we log in, you'll see like the first thing that it'll ask is for the keys, right? So that's why I've entered in the prerequisite that we must need to have the keys, right? Now, uh, if we go back here, right? Let's go to our TSM CLI. Like there are two ways to activate and register it. One is the TSM web interface that we can easily log in and then provide our keys and then go ahead with the next set of steps. The another is TSM CLI, and here we can just write TSM licenses activate and the product key. So generally, what used to happen previously for creator, explorer, and viewer, there were different licenses, but now they have done it within one license. In backend they are mapping it, and they have also bring in a login based license management as well. But that happens once we, at the first we'll have to give the product key. So instead of three product keys, now we can have just one. Let's try if we can get the trial of this Tableau server. If not, then we will have to buy it or ask them for the trial key. Or maybe if in some previous version it is allowed, we might have to shift back to previous version and try it. Okay, so TSM licenses, this is not picking it up. Let's just use TSM licenses activate. So it is giving us the options that is E, F, or the K. These are all the options like TSM licenses activate, deactivate, licenses list. Once we activate, we can see all the licenses list and when they are going to expire and all. And then TSM licenses refresh. So, okay, I'll try to get the trial key and post that. In the next session, we'll see the next set of process that needs to be followed. Thank you, everyone.